The beach is supposed to be a place for fun, sun, ice cream, and maybe a casual game of frisbee, but nothing too stressful, right? So, what's with all the bizarre and unsettling things that keep washing up on shores around the world? From a mysterious sphere to a beached killer whale, here are the 20 scariest things ever found at the beach. Number 20. Mysterious sphere washes up in Japan. Early in 2023, Japanese authorities were baffled by a mysterious metal ball that washed up on the shore of a beach in Japan. This bafflement turned into a lot of standing around with hands on hips, staring at the object. Naturally, all the speculation began. Oh yes, nothing gets past you eagle-eyed onliners, and a mysterious orb was too tantalizing a prospect for internet users to resist poking around. So, I'm gonna say what I know you're all thinking: aliens. Yes, it looks far too UFO-like to be anything boring like a lost mine or a piece of something that dropped off a cargo ship. It has to be aliens. Then, of course, there were speculators who enjoy a more international espionage approach to their ungrounded assumptions. Plenty of people suggested that this was probably a Chinese spy balloon. But call me old-fashioned if you will, spy balloons are not usually made out of something as heavy and cumbersome as iron, are they? Anyways, the thing measured almost 5 feet across, and when x-rayed, it showed that it was actually hollow. So who could possibly say? All facts aside, it certainly gave everyone a bit of excitement, if only for the 14 seconds of attention span that any of us still have intact. What's next? Number 19. Algae bloom off Chinese coast. This video shows just how gross this mysterious stuff can actually get. I mean, I wouldn't want to take a dip in this weird green sludge, would you? In 2010, local authorities and residents in a city in China struggled to remove a massive amount of green algae that had washed ashore on the beaches of a popular coastal tourist destination in East China's Shandong province. The foul-smelling green algae, known as something I can't pronounce, had formed a strip almost 10 feet wide and hundreds of feet long on the island's beach. The North China Sea branch of the State Oceanic Administration reported that the floating green algae had covered a 150 square mile area in the waters south of the region. As soon as it was discovered on the beach, staff from the government, tourism companies, and coastal residents began their cleanup efforts. The local government deployed 66 vessels to clean up the algae and 4 additional boats to monitor its movement, preventing the algae from reaching the shore. A net was set up offshore, while hundreds of people participated in the cleanup either on land or at sea. The removed green algae were either used as livestock feed or buried as fertilizer for farmland, as directed by officials. The spreading green algae had a significant impact on beach tourism, causing the number of visitors to drop from over 5,000 to only a few hundred. Well, hallelujah. Number 18. Fanged creature found on Texas beach. A peculiar discovery on a Texas beach left people both unsettled and intrigued, prompting them to ponder what on earth this weird, gross thing could have actually been. People are seemingly always baffled by stuff that washes up on the beach. You know, we go around most of the time with a fairly solid idea of what stuff is, but show us a thing on a beach and we're all utterly clueless. Go figure. Fortunately, some so-called experts shed light on the matter, although, are there actually experts in weird beach phenomena? Who could possibly say? This unusual sight was spotted on the Bolivar Peninsula, a 27-mile coastline northeast of Galveston. The grayish mass was a kind of symmetrical shape with frilly bits on its outside and molar-like formations with sharper teeth toward the top, as you can probably see in the picture. While the sight disturbed a lot of people, some individuals found the mysterious mass strangely familiar. It turns out that it wasn't a sea creature or even an extraterrestrial entity, but rather the remnants of a fish that had been caught and filleted. Well, what do you know? Yet again, people were rendered totally brainless while on a beach. Experts from the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department confirmed the conclusion, saying that the feathery parts are the gills attached to the bony arches. The spiky bits in the top middle were potentially teeth, but they couldn't identify the species. It was believed to most likely have been a large sportfish. Mystery solved, and it all turned out to be really, really boring in the end. Number 17. Mysterious mermaid on beach in England. Here we have an alleged discovery of a mermaid corpse on a beach in Norfolk in the United Kingdom. For starters, this is not really the usual depiction of a mermaid. It's especially gnarly and unpleasant, really not at all suitable for any person of a sensitive disposition, especially a mermaid fan. So, I hope you've closed your eyes if that's you. Otherwise, we'll examine this gross discovery a bit further. Right then, of course, this is definitely and totally for real, and there's nothing in the least that is suspect about any of it, for sure. Apart from the fact that this is not only super fake, it's also super creepy. I mean, who in their right mind actually goes about constructing a corpse like this one? And then, how do you really do it? What parts is this made from? It's like a dead, desiccated human body with a shriveled up old fishtail. Now isn't that lovely? This beach find was uploaded by some guy on Facebook along with the caption, "Today at Great Yarmouth, We found what looks like a dead mermaid washed up on the beach. Well, of course you did. It's definitely a genuine, bona fide mermaid body and absolutely not in any way related to his own interests. His Facebook profile literally states that he is a keen modeler of creepy figures and an active member of the horror and Halloween DIY Facebook group. Seems like we're gonna need to call Columbo if we're ever gonna get to the bottom of this mystery. Now, I don't know about you, but I think I prefer my mermaids to stay in the water and in mythology, rather than laying all crispy and dead on the beach like this one. Number 16. Mysterious sea creature in Sydney. Well, here we are again with one of the perennial questions that seems to trouble us on the internet. What is this mystery creature? Honestly, there are hundreds of so-called mystery creatures out there that just seem to cause us enormous concern, and then, ultimately, those mysteries are generally cleared up quite easily and are really not at all interesting in the end. I just wonder if this Bondi Beach creature will be any different. As the story goes, some guy named Drew Lambert was out jogging on the beach when he happened upon the carcass of some sort of crazy creature. The oddity appeared to poor old Drew to have human-like lips. Well, kind of, if you mean the sort of lips that have been injected with so many fillers that the human beneath them looks like they're forever blowing bubbles. Yeah, that's the mystery here, pretty sure. But whatever this is, it's not actually much of a mystery at all. The guy who filmed it almost immediately said that he thought it was some kind of decomposing coffin shark with intestines that had ballooned. Well, that's just lovely, isn't it? Let's move swiftly on. Now it's time for today's topic. In November 2017, a young orca named Lucy found herself stranded on Marfels Beach in New Zealand. After enduring over 24 hours on the shore and an initial unsuccessful rescue attempt, a dedicated team of 25 soldiers from New Zealand, the United States, Canada, and Australia, along with volunteers, managed to free her. They dug a trench approximately 1 meter deep and 20 meters long in the sand, utilizing pontoons and an airbag to guide the 1.5-ton orca back into the water. With the assistance of the high tide, Lucy was successfully returned to the ocean by 1:30 p.m. However, as rescuers prepared Lucy for her return to the sea, they noticed something alarming: large, jagged bite marks etched into her sleek black and white skin. These wounds, stark against her dark coloring, raised unsettling questions. Orcas, known as apex predators, rarely fall prey to other creatures. The sight of such injuries on Lucy suggested a violent encounter with a formidable adversary. Marine biologists examined the bite patterns and speculated on possible culprits. One theory pointed to large shark species, such as great whites, known to engage in rare but fierce battles with orcas. Another possibility considered was aggressive interactions with other orcas, as these intelligent mammals sometimes exhibit intraspecies aggression, especially during disputes over territory or mates. The mystery of Lucy's injuries added an eerie dimension to her rescue. As she disappeared into the ocean's depths, questions lingered about the true nature of the dangers she faced beneath the waves. Her story serves as a poignant reminder of the hidden perils that even the ocean's top predators must navigate in their vast, enigmatic world. Number 15. Sea creature on Indonesian beach. It doesn't seem as if this would be an especially difficult object to identify, but apparently, people seem to be functioning on limited brain cells when it comes to stuff that washes up on the beach. According to most news reports, whenever any gross, dead, and decomposing carcass is washed onto the shoreline pretty much anywhere in the world, they would have you believe that all the local people, yes, the ones who have lived their lives there, are all just standing around saying, "Gosh, I'll be darned. What in the world could this possibly be?" Nobody knows. I tell you, it's a total mystery, all while standing next to a stinking, rotting heap of whale blubber. Seriously, here we are yet again on another beach in Indonesia, and people seem to have no idea what this massive dead whale could possibly be. The huge, pinkish, bleeding, rotting corpse was indeed a 50-ton baleen whale. Now, I grant you, if you're not a whale scientist, then narrowing down the exact species might be tricky, but this is clearly a whale, right? Or am I wrong? What else could it possibly be? Answers in the comments section down below, please. I know you want to. Number 14. Massive shark washes ashore. A group of people on a boat off the coast of Massachusetts came rather too close for comfort with an absolutely massive shark. It swam alongside the vessel for a while and, rather thoughtfully, allowed itself to be captured very clearly on some lovely drone footage. This shark was so large that it really did set off all the questions, perhaps legitimately, of whether this was a megalodon. I mean, probably not. Those things are extinct, but it is one big shark nonetheless. Megalodons were a species believed to be the largest sharks to have ever existed, and it's been estimated that an adult megalodon might have been as long as 30 feet. But some people, there are always a few, aren't there, reckon that the megalodon was 80 feet long. This shark in the waters off Massachusetts is no such creature. While it may be big, it is basically harmless. This is a basking shark, which happens to be the second largest species of shark in existence today. They can grow up to about 26 feet long, so that's still pretty impressive, but sadly, it's not some miraculous relic from a prehistoric era. Number 13. Mystery cylinder on Australian beach. Next up, we have another mystery that seems to have actually been solved. This is a bit of metal, quite a large cylindrical piece actually, that washed up on the beach at Green Head in a remote part of Western Australia. To begin with, everyone and their grandmother had all sorts of opinions about it. Many of them concluded that it was a piece of the missing flight MH370. Everyone basically decides this about all the bits of junk that wash up anywhere. But then, some slightly more informed people began to look closer at the object, and they had a few ideas of their own. The most convincing one is that it's actually a piece of space junk. There's so much trash falling out of the skies these days that we should all be at least vaguely interested, if not even a little bit concerned. The detective who took a minute to actually examine the object said that the cylinder was not from any kind of commercial aircraft but actually appeared to be very similar to a part of India's Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle rocket. It's a fuel cylinder, and in general, these tanks drop off when the fuel is used up, and then they fall into the ocean like this one. They noted that this particular one had obviously been under the sea for quite some time and was not from any kind of recent launch. Even so, just dumping out space garbage wherever it falls doesn't really seem like a thoroughly sustainable sort of behavior, now does it? Number 12. Mysterious hairy blob in the Philippines. When a creature dies in water and is left to float about a bit, all kinds of gross things can happen to its body. Some of those things can make it difficult to identify what the animal might have been when it was alive. I know this is kind of upsetting, but this is also why there are so many of these mysterious alien creature stories. Sorry to be a big old party pooper, but it's time we focus on some facts. When this apparently mysterious hairy blob washed ashore in the Philippines, it only took a few random snaps on someone's phone and a quick upload to social media before a bunch of bright sparks took it upon themselves to poke their unqualified noses in and give the mess a good stir. Some of the extremely quick-witted suggestions included speculation that the unfortunate 20-foot-long creature was an old English sheepdog. I mean, really? 20 feet long, or a poor, dead seal. Somewhat boringly, the local authorities stepped in to clear up the conundrum, and presumably the rotting, 2,000-kilogram carcass, and released a statement saying it was actually a dead whale. Yes, it turns out that when a whale is decomposing in water, its flesh can turn white and collapse in such a way as to appear kind of hairy. I hope nobody was eating their dinner. Number 11. The Montauk Monster. Back in 2008, a gross, bloodless and bloated body washed up on the shores of Montauk in Long Island, New York, and everyone freaked out. Well, you probably would too, wouldn't you? Anyways, this creature, which soon became known as the Montauk Monster, was spotted on the beach, all dead and gross and stuff, and then it was just suddenly gone. Nobody seemed to know why. That's the perfect way to ensure that a mystery remains mysterious. Plenty of people weighed in with a bunch of dopey ideas, as people are wont to do, and the myth of the Montauk Monster was born. There was speculation that it was a strange mutant creature accidentally created in a lab at the nearby Plum Island Animal Disease Center. Naturally, there were plenty of people who said it was aliens. But what do you think about it? I'm going with the idea that it was a sheep that had been in the water for a while. But how about you? Let me know what you think the Montauk Monster was in the comments section down below. Number 10. Big eye thresher shark. While it may be unusual for people to ever see a big eye thresher shark, it is a deep-sea dweller after all. It's probably much more unusual for a big eye thresher shark to find itself on the beach being stared at. This is what happened to this unfortunate creature that washed onto a beach in New Zealand and had its picture taken by a whole bunch of people. The shark's long, whip-like tail, nearly as long as its body, drew just as much attention as its massive eyes. Some speculated that it might have been brought to shallower waters by strong currents or environmental changes in the ocean. Marine biologists suggested the shark's disoriented state might have been due to illness or injury, both of which can push deep-sea creatures out of their natural habitat. As the crowd grew, discussions about the shark's distinct adaptations, including its oversized eyes designed for hunting in near-total darkness, filled the air. Others were in awe of its sleek, torpedo-like body, crafted for swift movement in the depths. The picture was then sent to the Department of Conservation, whose shark expert confirmed that it was a big eye thresher. They live in tropical waters usually, but at great depths. This is why they have such crazy big eyes, so as to be able to see their prey in the darkness of those waters. Number 9. Acapulco creature. Here we go again with a mysterious creature washing up and baffling everyone in sight. This time we're in Mexico, at Bonfil Beach in Acapulco, to witness the 13-ton monster. Beachgoers all began taking pictures of the creature. That'll be nice in your holiday snaps. And then the authorities were called in. The massive carcass, with its pale, bloated form, sparked wild theories, with some suggesting it might be a prehistoric sea creature or even a cryptid. Marine biologists arrived to investigate but faced challenges due to the advanced state of decomposition, which obscured any definitive identification. Some beachgoers swore they spotted tentacle-like features, lending weight to the giant squid theory. Others pointed out the shape of its skull, arguing it might belong to a sperm whale or a rarely seen deep-sea species. Its unexpected appearance fueled debates online, with people posting comparisons to mythical sea monsters and Hollywood creations. They stated that they didn't know what kind of animal it was, but did not think that it had been dead for very long, as it didn't feature a bad smell. It was, however, beginning to rapidly decompose there on the beach. There was a suggestion that it could have been some kind of giant squid, but then again, others thought that it was a whale. So, what do you good people think this unfortunate creature may have been before it was unceremoniously dumped on a beach in Mexico? Go on, let me have all of your ideas to share with the rest of the class in the comments down below. Number 8. Strange sea creature. Back in 2016, following a series of earthquakes, New Zealand's beaches were suddenly inundated with weird and wonderful offerings from the deep blue yonder. Among the biggest and most unusual objects was this spooky, sea monster-shaped thing that washed up on Auckland's Muraway Beach. Startled local residents who discovered the colossal form initially thought that it was a whale that had been stranded on the sand. But as they took a closer look, even stranger things were revealed. The massive object was covered in what looked to be dreadlocks, which were themselves covered in barnacle. Some even speculated that the creature could be a remnant of some deep-sea leviathan disturbed by the earthquakes. Others whispered theories of mythical sea creatures or ancient beasts returning from the depths. Marine biologists, however, were quick to step in and offer explanations, suggesting it might also have been a piece of an old shipwreck washed ashore with decades of marine growth. Despite the mystery being solved, the sight drew crowds of curious onlookers, turning the Muraway monster into an accidental tourist attraction. It made a spooky shape out there on the beach, and it was quickly dubbed the Muraway monster. The speculation about its origin continued to grow. Sadly, for all the imaginative storytellers out there, the truth seems to have been rather dull compared to the tall tales that were concocted. It looks as though this was simply a really big piece of driftwood that had become covered with gooseneck barnacles, a kind of crustacean that attaches to surfaces along shorelines. Oh well, sorry about that. Number 7. Rare oarfish in California. Back in 2013, a weird thing happened in California when two giant oarfish washed up on the shore within a week of each other. Not so weird, you may think, until you find out that these things are actually super rare and live in extremely deep waters, literally thousands of feet down. So what business they had rocking up all dead and stinky in California? Well, that's anyone's guess, really. They are the longest of all bony fish, growing up to a humongous 56 feet long. Another reason these big guys are seldom seen is probably because they taste disgusting. Described as gelatinous goo, the giant oarfish has avoided becoming a sought-after fish simply by being too gross to eat. If you've ever heard a salty old tale of deadly encounters with a giant sea serpent, well, this is one to give you a shiver. The oarfish, well, it is that sea serpent. Yes, they are real, but how much battling they actually do with fishermen and boats? Well, that's the fishy bit of the story. Already part of myth and legend, the giant oarfish does seem to have some kind of mystical power. They're known to turn up just before an earthquake, like some kind of slippery soothsayer. And some sort of earthquake prediction is never exactly something to look forward to, least of all in California. Number 6. World War II bomb on Florida beach. Back in 2015, a walker on St. Pete Beach almost had a rather unpleasant surprise. They had stumbled upon an object that had washed up on the shore and, fortunately, decided not to go ahead and poke it with a stick or jump on it or perform any other kind of fiddling about. That's because this was a live World War II bomb. It's brilliant, but that's exactly what you would expect to find on a beach in Florida these days. Now, isn't it? Upon closer inspection, the device still had traces of its original markings, which confirmed its age and purpose. Experts speculated that the bomb could have been dislodged from the seabed during a storm or hurricane, eventually making its way to shore. Similar discoveries have been made over the years, sparking concern over just how many unexploded ordnances may still be lurking underwater. The incident also reignited discussions about the need for ongoing efforts to locate and safely dispose of such dangerous remnants of war. They reported the suspicious item to the authorities, which led to all the nearby homes being evacuated by officials. Trenches were then built around the device, and it was detonated right there on the beach. It turned out to be a photoflash bomb, which was supposed to illuminate an area rather than cause injuries. However, when people suggested that it was odd for something like this to be in the Gulf of Mexico off the coast of Florida, they were horrified to learn that, actually, a lot of unused weapons from the Second World War were simply dumped in the ocean and also in the Gulf of Mexico in the years that followed the war. Well, that's just wonderful information to have. Number 5. Shipwreck found on Florida beach. Back in 2018, a large 48-ton section of a sailing ship washed up on Ponte Vedra Beach in Florida. This particular vessel was an exciting discovery for local researchers to study up close. It was believed to date back to as far as the 1700s, offering a rare chance to examine something from that era. The wreckage sparked curiosity among historians, with some theorizing that it could have been a merchant ship or a military vessel that fell victim to a storm or conflict during its time at sea. Closer examination revealed that the wood was oak, a material often used in shipbuilding during that period. There were also traces of tar and pitch, substances used to waterproof wooden vessels. Archaeologists were particularly intrigued by the Roman numerals carved into the ship's ribs, which may have been used to mark sections of the ship's construction. Locals and tourists alike flocked to the beach to catch a glimpse of the relic, turning it into an impromptu historical attraction. Before the tide washed it back out to sea, researchers documented the ship thoroughly and noted features suggesting it was once covered with sheets of copper and had several Roman numerals carved into the ribs of the shipwreck. The copper sheeting indicated attempts to protect the hull from shipworms, a common problem in warm waters, giving further clues about its likely voyages. Number 4. Barnacle-covered cross on Florida beach. This next one had the religiously inclined people of Florida feeling blessed. Back in 2019, a large, painted wooden cross washed up on the sand opposite the Ocean Manor Beach Resort in South Florida. The cross had clearly been in the water for a while, as it was covered in barnacles and had been battered about by the sea. Some people speculated that it had been part of a ship, while others saw it as divine intervention. A few people even theorized that the cross might have come from a Caribbean island after being displaced by a hurricane, adding a layer of intrigue to its journey. Its arrival sparked local debates about its origin, with some suggesting it could be connected to an old religious shrine swept out to sea. Others thought it might have been a memorial marker that broke free from a shoreline somewhere. The resort's owner called the cross's appearance a miracle, further fueling its status as a symbol of faith. Tourists and locals flocked to the site, some kneeling to pray in front of the cross or leaving flowers and notes. The resort decided to keep the cross, hauling it up the beach and away from the water's edge. They've even said people are welcome to come and take pictures of it. I mean, gee, thanks. That's definitely at the top of my Florida bucket list. A barnacle-covered old piece of wood. Awesome. Number 3. Blue dragons on Texas beach. These teeny-weeny little dragons had a whole load of Texas wildlife experts scratching their heads and watching their step when they began washing up on the shore at Padre Island National Seashore in 2020. People began collecting them for a closer look. The little blue dragons are actually a really rare kind of sea slug, measuring only about 3 centimeters, just over an inch long. Despite their tiny size, they pack a surprisingly unpleasant sting. These little creatures belong to the glaucus genus, also known as blue dragon sea slugs, and are normally found drifting in open ocean waters. Their striking blue and silver coloration not only makes them look otherworldly but also provides excellent camouflage against both predators and prey when viewed from above or below. Interestingly, they float upside down on the ocean's surface using a gas-filled sac in their stomachs to stay buoyant. Although these little creatures don't breathe fire, they prey on Portuguese man-o'-war jellyfish. Surprisingly, these slugs hunt the jellyfish to steal their stinging toxin. Once they've absorbed the dangerous juice, they turn it into their own defensive weapon against predators. Despite their seemingly innocuous appearance, these rare sea creatures can deliver a hefty sting. The people on that Texas beach were fortunate to avoid being stung. Maybe it's best to avoid poking anything if you don't know what it is. Just a thought. Number 2. Carcass of rare fish washes up in New Jersey. Finding a dead fish on the beach might not seem like the strangest thing, but the weird part about this one is that the fish in question was a super rare, prehistoric creature. This creature somehow found its way all the way to New Jersey of all places. The Atlantic sturgeon, a type of fish that dates back to prehistoric times, was once quite common. These days, however, this species is endangered, with only a few hundred individuals remaining. So, when a jogger out exercising at Island Beach State Park suddenly came face to face with a very large, dead sturgeon, it understandably gave her the willies. The discovery sparked a flurry of interest from marine biologists, who noted that Atlantic sturgeon sightings are becoming increasingly rare due to overfishing and habitat loss. Some speculated that this particular fish might have strayed from its usual migration route, possibly due to climate change or unusual ocean currents. Others pointed out that pollution in the area could have contributed to the fish's demise, raising concerns about the health of marine ecosystems. These prehistoric fish have been swimming in our oceans for at least 200 million years, according to fossils. This particular specimen, about 5 feet long, was an unusual find, even for the Island Beach State Park officer called to the scene. I just wonder, do they put up a cordon, outline the body with chalk, and interview witnesses in these situations? Number 1. Anglerfish on San Diego Beach. Well, would you believe it? we've got yet another mystery on our hands. Why can't news broadcasters find any other way to frame a story about things that wash up on the shore? Is it inherently mysterious and completely mystifying when things that live in the sea are found on the beach? Probably not, but to news crews all over the world, this concept seems impossible to grasp. This anglerfish finding its way to the shore in San Diego was just too weird for some people. Anglerfish aren't often seen on beaches because they typically live in deep waters, mostly near the seafloor. Their bizarre appearance only adds to the intrigue, with their sharp teeth resembling shards of glass and eyes that seem to glow faintly in the dark. This rare sighting has prompted marine biologists to speculate about possible reasons for its unusual location, such as deep sea currents or environmental disturbances. It's also a reminder of how little we know about the creatures dwelling in the depths, with anglerfish being one of the most elusive inhabitants of the ocean. These odd creatures have their own source of luminescence, provided by the weird fleshy thing that dangles from the top of their head. This lure is used to attract prey, much like an angler with a fishing line. Anglerfish are efficient hunters. Not only do they have a bunch of extremely sharp and pointy teeth, but they also have gargantuan mouths. The anglerfish's massive mouth extends the entire circumference of its head, and it can stretch wide enough to swallow prey twice its size. That's it for today's stroll along the shore. Which of these scary finds is going to haunt your summer beach plans? Share your thoughts in the comments below, check out the other cool videos on the screen, and I'll see you next time.